This is video lesson compare and contrast number 1. You should be here if you're ready to start a new lesson, meaning you've just completed either a quiz and passed it or the lesson 3 of another topic. Let's go ahead. We're going to look, but we're going to start by taking notes. So go ahead and make sure you have your pen out, and we'll begin with introducing comparison and contrast. When you compare, you find ways in which things are alike. Let's go ahead and write in alike. I'm going to try to write a little bit bigger because I know some of you haven't been able to see what I've been writing. So hopefully you'll be able to see this a little bit better. When you compare, you find ways in which things are alike. When you contrast, you find ways in which things are different. Oops, I wrote that in the wrong spot. You can also compare and contrast ideas, events, places, and people. You can use these tips to compare and contrast. Look for descriptions of things, ideas, events, places, and people. So I'm going to write descriptions up here since I wrote the wrong word there to start with. You should be able to write it in the line provided though. Alright, also, to compare, ask yourself, how are things alike? To contrast, ask yourself, how are these things different? Okay? Look for these clue words as you read. Okay, so when you're comparing and contrasting, you're going to look for these clue words. Okay, they can help you find comparisons and contrasts. Words such as like, alike, also, to, spelled T-O-O, which means also, right? Same and both signal comparisons. Let's go ahead and write that in. Okay? Words such as unlike, but, however, and different signal contrasts. You need to write that in also. Okay, think about. Read the sentence below. Find a comparison or a contrast. The platypus and the beaver are alike in another way too. Each uses its broad, flat tail to help it swim. So, number 1, what two things are being compared or contrasted? So, in the beginning it tells us the platypus and the beaver. Those are the two animals that are being compared. Let's write that on the line. Platypus and the beaver. Number 2, what clue words appear in the passage? So remember, up here we're looking for words like alike, also to, same, and both. Or unlike, but, however, and different. So let's look in our sentence and see if we can find any of those words. The platypus and the beaver are alike. I see alike. I'm going to underline that. In another way, too. There's another one of our clue words. This means also. Each uses its broad, flat tail to help it swim. Okay, so those are our two clue words. Let's go ahead and write them on the line. We have alike and to. Okay? Number 3, is this a comparison or a contrast? So let's go back up here and we can look at our definition, and we can also look at our clue words. Okay, so the two clue words we underline say are alike and to, which tells me, we put right here, signal comparisons. Also, when I look at when you compare, you find ways in which things are alike. So both of those let me know that this is a comparison. Let's write it on the line. Okay. Number 4, underline the similarity or difference. Well, we already said this was a comparison, so we're looking for the similarity. How are they alike? How are they similar, right? Not how are they different. So what is their similarity? We're going to underline it. So right here we see the first sentence is telling us that they are alike. And the second sentence tells us which way they're alike. Each uses its broad, flat tail to help it swim. So we're going to underline this whole second sentence. Okay? Let's look at the strategy that we can use when we compare and contrast. The strategy is to ask questions. You can ask questions to help you understand, enjoy, and remember the important ideas in a passage. Go ahead and write in important ideas. Before you read, look at the title. Let's write that in. Ask yourself questions that you hope the passage will answer. You can also, as you complete each paragraph, ask yourself a new question that you hope to answer as you read on. So, asking yourself a question based on the title, ask for each paragraph as you read. It says, then as you read, look for the answer. The last way to use this strategy is when you finish reading, think about whether all your questions were answered. Let's go ahead and write in think. Okay, once you have all of these notes, you're ready to turn the page and look at how to use what we learned. Okay, it says use what you learned. Read the passage. Use the notes on the side to help you. Then answer the questions on the next page. So over here I see some notes. I see ask questions. It says read the title and think about questions about the topic. What a strange animal. The question I have is, what animal are they talking about that they're going to talk about that's so strange? The next note says compare and contrast. Look for clue words that signal comparison and contrast. So I know that I'm looking for alike, unlike, to, also, different. Those are some of the clue words from the first page we're looking for. The last note says compare and contrast. Look for details that tell how the animals are alike and different. And we know that those are our clue words, so that's already something we're looking for. Let's look at the reading. What a strange animal. English explorers first saw a platypus in Australia in 1797. They sent one back to scientists in England to study. The scientists were shocked. They thought the explorers had sewn together a duck and a beaver as a joke. Like a beaver, the platypus is a mammal and is covered with hair. The platypus and the beaver are alike in another way too. Each uses its broad, flat tail to help it swim. Unlike other mammals, the platypus lays eggs, which hatch in about 10 days. Like robin chicks, the babies are blind when they hatch. Like a duck, the platypus has a long bill. It dives underwater for its food, as many ducks do. But unlike a duck, it shuts its eyes as it dives. It uses its bill to find food. Then it sweeps its bill from side to side like a vacuum cleaner to suck in its prey. Both the platypus and the duck have webbed feet, but the platypus has claws tucked under its feet. It can retract its webs and use its claws to dig an underground home, similar to that of a groundhog. Oh, I like this picture here. It's very interesting. Let's turn the page and look at the questions that we're going to answer about this reading. I'm going to keep it close by so I can look back to it often. All right, the first thing we're going to do is look at an example of how to answer a question. The example question says, Choose the correct answer. Use the steps at the ring to help you answer the question. Which statement from the passage is a contrast? Okay, so contrast, if I remember, is looking for ways that things are different. A, it uses its bill to find food. B, the platypus has a long duck-like bill. C, unlike other mammals, the platypus lays eggs. D, like beavers and other animals, the platypus is covered with hair. Here's a step-by-step way to answer the question. Look for clue words that signal a contrast. I reread and I see the clue word unlike. Look for what is being contrasted. I see that the platypus is unlike other mammals. Look for details in the passage. I see that they are different because the platypus lays eggs. So we're looking for those words in our answer. So I see the word unlike in question C, in option C. I see the word like in D. I know that's not it because it's not a comparison. The B doesn't have either, and A doesn't have either. So I want to look for a comparison. It's most likely going to be C. Let's check our other clues. The platypus is unlike other mammals. Unlike other mammals. The way that it's different is that it lays eggs. The platypus lays eggs. So we are right. The answer is C. Go ahead and circle that at this time. Let's look at the 4 questions below. It says, now read each question. Circle the letter of the best answer. According to the passage, how is a platypus similar to a beaver? Okay, so now we're looking for words that signal similar. I'm going to look back at my passage and look for how it is similar to a beaver. Right away, I see paragraph 2 jump out at me because I see the word like a beaver. So I know this is going to be how they're like a beaver. It says, like a beaver, the platypus is a mammal and is covered with hair. The platypus and the beaver are alike. Here's another signal word in another way too. Each uses its broad, flat tail to help it swim. Okay, so those are the 3 ways it's like a beaver. Let's go back and look at our options. It retracts its webs. That wasn't one of them. It has webbed feet. Nope. It lives in Australia. No, that's not any. A, B, and C are not what we just read. D, it is covered with hair. If I look back at where I say like, I can read on and see it's covered with hair. That is the correct answer. I know that it is the correct answer because I found it in the text. Okay, number 2. According to the passage, how are baby platypuses similar to robin chicks? So again, we're looking for that word similar. So I'm going to look for words like, to, and also. So I see the word like robin chicks. So I'm going to underline right there. The babies are blind when they hatch. So I look at my options over here and I see that C says they are blind when they hatch. There's our answer. Let's look at number 3. Based on the passage, which contrast is accurate? So contrast, again, is what's different. So let's look at the passage and see if we can see this as a contrast. Like a duck, that's not a contrast, that's a similarity. So I'm going to, a comparison. So I'm going to cross that off. The next 3 are all contrasts. So let's look and find out which one is true. Unlike a duck, a platypus has a pointed bill. Well, a duck has a bill. So that can't be how they're different. I'm going to cross it off. C, unlike a duck, a platypus can retract its webs. That sounds familiar. I'm going to think it might be this one. I'm going to put an asterisk by it and come back to it. D, unlike many ducks, a platypus dives for food. I'm not sure if that's how they're different. I think that was how they're similar. I'm going to check the text just to make sure. So, I'm going to look for my words that tell me, oh, here's a clue word right here, but. Remember that that is a clue word for a contrast. But the platypus has claws tucked under its feet. It can retract its webs. There's our answer. Our answer is C. Please do number 4 independently, and when you're done, you're ready to move on to Compare Contrast Lesson 2.